5 years ago, my third daughter passed away, and it's still now, 5 years on, I can't experience a real high without connecting with that pain. And the story of grief is one that all of us at some point will experience, and all of us will experience dying, and all of us will experience someone passing away that's close to us. Over the next, however months I do this questioning, there's a lot about grief that will come up. Different angles and different reasons why I want to talk about grief, and I don't always want to be raking up my bits of my story. I've decided that in order to be able to later on talk about some quite challenging aspects of how we grieve in this culture and questioning different angles about grief, I feel like it would be beneficial to have already made myself open to sharing my story. And so I'm not questioning today. I am going to be posting this, probably quite a long post, because I'm going to tell you my story. 5 years ago, I gave birth. I had a wonderful pregnancy, third pregnancy, wonderful pregnancy, very natural and beautiful labour. I really enjoyed labour with Florence. She and I really trusted each other, and I think by my third I was really prepared and emotionally ready. I laboured mostly on my own with her throughout the night, and just had a wonderful birth with her. Florence Breyer, and we called her Florrie. She was a perfect little baby girl. On her 6th day of life, in the evening, I noticed that her breathing was a little bit slower than normal, and it just, every now and then, she would have a little cough on her out-breath. I said, in the morning, if she's still like this, I think we should take her to see the midwife. And we agreed. That night, I slept up in my bed with her on my chest because I wanted her close, and she did feed, but not as much as she had been. And I definitely thought, I don't think she's well. I think she's got a cold, and I think I need to get her checked out. The next day, I was drying my hair, and I just glanced in the mirror at her, and I thought, she doesn't look too good. So I put the hairdryer down, and I went over to her, and I thought, her lips are turning quite purple. And I got her hands, and I was rubbing her hands, and I thought, her hands, they look really cold, like when you've got cold hands. But they weren't really cold, they were okay, but they were turning a different colour. Panic just hit me. And I'm trying to keep calm. Sam has long gone to work. My dad was still in bed, my mum is up and around, my little girls are up. People are starting to arrive for work, because where we lived in amongst our business that was quite a big but lively big business, and lots of people were turning up to work at that point. Quickly phone it's not 999, it's the NHS helpline. Quick, I need advice. I need to explain at this point, we didn't live near anything. We lived in the Yorkshire Dales, high up on a hill, with nothing around us. And she says to me, get an ambulance now. So I think about this, and it doesn't take me long to work out there is no ambulance going to get to me quicker than I can get to them. So my mum and I decided there and then to get in the car as soon as possible and just get her there, get her to the hospital. At that point, I remember Mum's giving Dad instructions, deal with the kids, all that kind of stuff. And I remember a wonderful man who worked with us called Andy. He literally arrived to work, and I remember just having this fleeting, strong conversation. Andy, this is what's going on. I need to take Florence now. I need you to look after everything that's happening here. You know, look out for my dad, look out for my kids. We're off. And we literally got in the car, and my mum drove her car. And in the car, Florence stopped breathing. Or maybe just before we got in the car. Bit hazy, that bit. So she stopped breathing, and I was pumping her heart as much as I could, fearing I'm being too brutal, but remembering from having been a nurse, and I had done resus on adults and once on a child, I remembered that actually you do need to do it quite firm. So I'm thinking practically, and I'm in the car. Boom. My mum is driving down tiny Yorkshire lanes. And then we come to a point at a junction where a car is in front of us. And this car is getting pissed off because my mum is right up to the car trying to get past this car. So this car thinks, how dare you drive like that? I'm going to go right into the middle of the road and slow right down to teach you a lesson that you can't drive like this around these Yorkshire lanes. A fire kicked in my belly then that I have never forgotten. If I wasn't so focused and like determined to get there, just get there, if I had seen that person, I would have ripped their head off, physically just hurt them, because that person went in the middle of the road and slowed down whilst I am trying to get my daughter's heart to go. Many weeks later, I saw that car on the road several times because it was someone who lived within our area. And I always wanted just to say, I just want you to know what was going on in that car that was beeping you and flashing you and trying to ask you if they could overtake. I just want to tell you what was going on, but I never did. Anyway, we decided that we did not have the chance to get all the way to the hospital because it was a 40-minute journey. So I said, take me to the doctor's surgery. It was in our village, in a market square, very typical Yorkshire market square. It was a busy morning, and my mum screeched into that square, and I just jumped out of the car, and I'll never forget, there was a queue out of the doctor's surgery, out of the door. Some sort of clinic was going on, and I burst in, and I just remember screaming, somebody help me! You know, help me, my baby's not breathing! Somebody help me now! I was really driven. And I just remember bits of it. I don't remember the full picture of what happened, but I remember being taken into a room. I remember suddenly doctors were appearing. And I remember my ears just suddenly went, whew, gone. And everything was like in a slow motion bubble. And I saw them just take my child and work on her. I mean, it was, thinking back now, it was like a beautiful dance around my child. And I was just there. A bit like, being really high. I remember phoning people, trying to get hold of my mother-in-law, Heather, Sam, my husband, who is now in Leeds, and speaking with him. I remember couldn't get hold of Sam. I remember phoning and phoning and phoning, and he wasn't answering. And I remember just like screaming in my head, pick up the phone, pick up the phone. But I wasn't like that. I was calm and, you know, but inside I am. The most amazing thing is that the doctors, who are GPs in this little market town, happen to both be literally just out of intensive care situations for children. Both of them slightly different backgrounds, but both of them experts in their field in dealing with crisis child situations. They drilled through the bone in her leg to get to the main bits that they needed to get drugs into her. They got her heart going, they stabilised her, they worked hard on her. And I'm just in a space world. All the time this is going on, an air ambulance outside is trying to land, and a friend told me way after that, I mean, he caught a photo of the air ambulance landing in the market square, and he said to me it was incredible how people just cleared. You know, people from the town were just out. This is kicking off. Get the cars out, find out whose cars they are, move them and get this air ambulance down. And down this air ambulance came. And they got Florence all wrapped up and all, you know, secure. And the next thing I know, I'm running to the ambulance after Florence. And I jump in and they put my belt on and we're off. And then we're flown to a hospital in Middlesbrough. We were flown there. It seemed to take minutes. I remember seeing the countryside, but I just remember kind of looking at this picture in front of me of my baby, and lots of medical chat going on and lots of radioing, and I realised this is serious. This is really serious. So we get to Middlesbrough, we get rushed into, you know, the A&E department, and they don't let me come in at first because they want to stabilise her, and there was so many people working on this case that I couldn't even fit in the room. I'll never forget the sense of my ears just not being able to tune in to sounds properly. My husband is on his way. He is you know, driving like a madman down the motorway, and I remember phoning my sister. I spoke to my sister, who was due to be going for her long holiday in France. And she's cancelling her holiday. Her family are going without her, and she's coming up to see me, which is amazing. And you know, my mum and dad, I think, were coming to the hospital, and and Sam's mum and dad were coming to the hospital, and I knew that people were coming, but I just was in this room alone, feeling very, very small and very helpless. Sam arrives and we're welcomed to go to see Florence. Still lots of people are working on her, and we meet a cardiologist, lovely, amazing man, and you know, they explain different things about the theories of what's going on for her, and then we get moved up to the children's intensive care unit, ICU, and the team up there were just unbelievable. They're believing that what they've got to deal with is a genetic issue, and they start preparing us. You could be here for quite some time, as in months and months. You know, we have flats here, so you'd stay here, And I'm thinking, okay, I need to do this for my other children. We need to work out this. We're probably going to need to pack our bag with this in it. And I'm a doer, so I'm starting thinking about that. It's keeping me going. I can't often go near to Florence because there's people in and out, and she's wired up. But when I can, I go to her and hold her as much as I can. And my brain the entire time is trying to process what I'm seeing. Greatly helped by amazing people that work there. I mean, I can't remember the name of one particular chap, but he's in here and always will be. The only time I got real space was by going to the toilet. I used to just go to the toilet, even if I didn't need it, to just sort of go, what's happening, what's going on. Pulled into a side room with a doctor, and I knew at that point this is going to go one of two ways. We're either being pulled aside because we're going to be told the news, or we're being pulled aside to be told something that's going on that was a complete left field, and we need to then suddenly work with that. But actually, they wanted to tell us that they didn't believe they had the expertise at that hospital that she needed, and that they believed there was a much better, more specialist hospital in Newcastle. And they wanted to transfer her, but there was a real risk in transferring her, and it's a big deal to transfer her, so we needed to discuss it. We went with the transfer. It took hours for them to get that set up and get that ready, and we were told we weren't allowed to go in the ambulance with her because if anything happened, they preferred to have the space and the freedom to pull over and deal with it. So we travelled in a taxi behind the ambulance. So suddenly you've got this time, you're in the taxi, it's just Sam and I. Again, the weirdness around the noise came back. The noise of the machines has gone, the hubbub has gone, and suddenly you're just in this taxi with a taxi driver who knows nothing of your story so far. The whole time, Sam and I, on our phones, every time we got the chance, we were updating people. We put the story on Facebook to allow lots of people to be praying for us, putting their goodwill into this. We were fighting for our kid. We wanted that power and authority behind us, and we were constantly kind of giving that out. And looking back on it, I never remember doing it. I don't even remember having my phone. I remember once my phone ran out of battery and I hadn't got a charger, because obviously I'd just legged it out of the house the day before and hadn't gone home. So we're in the taxi and we're heading to Newcastle. And it just gave us the time to just look at each other and just talk what's happened and catch up with each other and what happened this morning. And I told Sam the story, and he told me his story from all these missed calls from me and having to just leave his work, literally as it was. He just ran out, and all of that, storytelling and meeting each other all happens in the taxi around these gaps of silence, and obviously social media, phoning family and trying to work out and make sense of what's happening. We get to Newcastle, and again we're not allowed in with her while they're settling her, so we're put in this new room. And when I say new room, the whole hospital is new, into this brand new room that yet hadn't been furnished enough to make it actually comfortable. So we're in this very clinical, cold room, cold as not in temperature but as in feel, on hard seats. And it's probably now, I don't know what time it is, but it feels late. Sam's parents arrive. So we're not alone anymore. We've got his parents with us. and I can relax about everything at home because my parents amazingly are still with us. They'd been staying with us for Florence's birth, staying with us for this. And hours went through with them trying to treat her. They wanted to give her a blood transfusion. They set that all up. And at some point during that time, I had a real sense just came over me quite quickly, peacefully, just a sense, prepare yourself, you're losing her, she's going. Something deep inside knew, I believe God was preparing me, and I'm glad that I knew before. So they're starting this transfusion. We spent some time with her. They said this is going to take hours. Go and get some rest. Now, we've been up now for hours and hours. Parents went home. We're back on our own. We're in this cold, uncomfortable space. We just wanted to lay our head down. They said, look, have some sleep. You're really tired and we'll wake you if we need you. And literally, on a cold, hard floor with no pillow, no blanket, no nothing on my arm. As soon as my head hit my arm, I was asleep. Psh, gone. I'll never, ever forget the next thing. I'm away with it. I'm absolutely gone to sleep, as is Sam. And we are both woken because someone burst through these double doors, just the noise of it. Come, wake, you've got to come now. Come now, you've got to come now. That's how I woke. What's going on? What is it? It's Florence. She's in cardiac arrest. You need to come now. So we run from slumber, from the floor, from a cold floor. We just ran out through these doors, down this corridor, through the doors, and into the little bay area of where she was. And they're doing resus. I think it felt really uncomfortable in that space. That was the first space where my skin started to itch, it kind of felt, this isn't right, this isn't my story. And I started to have mixed emotions. And I'm looking back now, I can see it's in that space that I start to lose the fullness of who I was then, who I had been. It's that space that I start to lose that person. And this drama outplayed itself in front of me. And I had moments of not being in the room, but actually of being somewhere quite different. Here, just quite different. Which is a whole nother story for another time. And then I was moments when I was just there. And I was there when the consultant came to us and said, we've been working on her for this amount of time, and what do you want us to do? And I remember saying to her, can I just be clear? Are you asking me if we are giving you permission to stop? And she said, yes. And I said, what would you do if it was your child? And she said, it's very difficult. But having been so long of trying, and she's had so much happen to her, she said, I think it's the right time. And I said, okay. And we looked at each other. Okay, yeah. And it's in that moment that you suddenly have this terrible dichotomy. Your brain knows that that's the right thing to do. That's the right thing to do. Yeah, you are right, and I trust you. You're the professional, and I get it, and I get what you're saying, and I know that's the right thing to do. But your heart and your whole being, your soul, your heart is just screaming at you, what? What? This is your child. You can't leave this child. You can't let them down. What? And they stop and they start taking away things from her that were there, wires, and when they tell us that she's gone, this wail came from me, this wail. And I remember just being aware that there was other people on this ward, in this unit, in this intensive care bit. And I remember just feeling this, that they were alive and mine had just gone. And I wailed. And then I was sick. I remember just being sick. And although this is going on inside, apart from my wailing, most of the times around that, we are quiet and it's very peaceful and calm. But inside there's this going on like a washing machine. And that is the beginning of a lot of things that just go on all the time inside, as your brain and your mind, your soul and your heart are all trying to come to terms with the shock of what's happened, the journey of what's happened, what you've seen and experienced in this time, what those images that you can't let go of. It all goes on, and it goes on for months. So they take everything off and they leave us and they say, we're going to give you some time with Florence. Florrie is your child. Take as long as you need. And I'll never forget Sam just picking her up. And he literally lifted her up. And he just cried out, you know, Lord, Father, he said, you gave her something like, you know, this is your child. You gave her to us. And now take her home. You know, take her home. And then he put her back on the bed. And we washed her. I washed her and I dressed her. And then I held her. I picked her up. And my legs have gone dead. I can still remember now, even now, I can still remember the sensation. I can remember the weight of her body, bearing in mind that she had been pumped full of medications. So by now she's quite swollen and she was heavy. But it was like the most it's like the weight of a 9-month-old when they're just on you. Big, solid baby, you know. She was there and I just held her and rocked. And, you know, and sat with her and walked with her. And the honest truth is, I could have stayed with her like that for several days. I did not want to let her go. I did not feel that it was right to leave that space. I actually had to be encouraged to let her go. And Sam just was right, maybe, in saying, you know, we need to go. We need to let her go. If I could go back in time, I would have had longer in that space. But it is what it is. So you're then given some time in another side room on your own, but you're given a phone, and it's the middle of the night. She died at 3 a.m, so it was around that time, and I phoned my family. And I phoned my brothers and my sister and my parents and Sam's parents, and I can't remember if Sam's brother was in the country. I think, yeah, he was. We phoned our families, and I phoned one or two precious friends, and I told them that Florence had died, and Sam told them, and we updated Facebook to let people know. So that's where our story stopped and began again. We left the hospital a few hours later with a box like this. It's quite bizarre. They give you this sort of really big and cumbersome box with just a few of her things floating around in it. It was just a bit odd. A footprint, a hair lock, her clothes, whatever, you know, random things. Her name tag and all that. And it rattles around, and you're in another taxi ride, and now we're miles away from home. So we had a long taxi ride home, and I remember we got home, went past Sam's parents' house, who were waiting for us at our house. They lived down the road, and they were waiting for us when we got home. I think we got home about 6 a.m, and it was misty. Beautiful where we lived, it was stunning, and it was a misty morning. And we walked down our drive, and I remember hearing my father-in-law say to my husband, "Son, we have never faced anything like this before," and they just hugged. And I remember I couldn't hug anyone. I just didn't want to touch anyone. And I remember walking into the kitchen of our house, and there stood my two little girls. So then the story goes on about how we had to tell them and their reaction and what's happened to them since because of all that story. And that's another story. I think that's probably where I'm going to leave that. This here is it's August 2011, and it's just a book. It says Florrie Breyer, Messages Sent and Received, and this is a book that a friend put together for us. We asked her just to do this for us as a record, so we could take time at some point to go through all the messages. So we have a record of all of the messages from the first status that Sam and I wrote, saying, please, you know, pray for us. Florence has fallen ill. We're going, you know, we're here, we're doing this. And all of the story and people's comments to us. And so it goes on. And so it goes on. And then more status updates, telling people what's happening. All the time, we felt incredibly held by our community, far and wide. You know, our friends and family were with us, you know, and that's the power of social media. There lieth one of the best positives, is that in times of crisis, you can get people behind you, and there is something very, very strong about people praying together or well-wishing together or loving together. And we felt that. We were riding on that. And it goes on and on with updates and people's insights and thoughts and prayers and messages, which was incredible. You know, we've got in her 7 days of life, we've got tons of photos. This is one that I absolutely love, of just me and her having had just one of our first feeds, and she's just milk drunk. And I'm just looking at this little new life, you know, beautiful record. And I've got loads of photos of her. Beautiful friend of ours put together some pictures. There's one with, you know, meeting her older sister, meeting her another older sister, and having, you know, first cuddles. I mean, these are precious. This one is really precious to me because it tells the story. You can't see very well, but there's me with Florrie in the sling, and then there's Martha and Elsie, and then there's the time where the girls are meeting, you know, picture of Dad with Florrie, and then there's my dad looking down at Florrie just a few hours after she's born, beautiful. There's Florrie in the middle, and then there's the day where we're all out on beanbag. I'll show you this. You might think this is a bit disgusting. It's so precious to me. This T-shirt was the T-shirt that I wore the day she died. And you might see here and here is Florence's blood. It's where she bled on me when I held her. Wow, I was like, this is amazing. This is so amazing that I've got this. And I rarely get it out. This was given to us. This was made by someone that we knew, that we know. Very, very sweetly made this for Florence. She never got to wear it, but we were running a venue that had really quirky tents, and we used to use a lot of quirky tents and events and stuff, and it was just part of our thing back then. And so she made this and sewed this on with this little cute detail on the back, and it just represented what Florence was born into so much that I kept that. Again, a friend made this, and actually she did wear this. I think she's wearing it in that photo I just showed you. But you know, she was in this, and I loved this, and it was too cute. I obviously had everything that we needed for Florence and gave it away, but I kept that. People sent us in poems and letters and cards. Our house was filled with flowers, which is it is such a nice thing actually. Yes, but there is something quite amazing about having a house full of fresh flowers, to smell them when you're grieving and when you're in the shock as well. It was quite incredible. So poems, songs, cards, letters, you know, we kept them all, and over the years they randomly come out, and I read them to my children, and we remember things and we're awoken to things, and it's just very, very precious, you know, another very precious memento. Celebration service, her burial and her celebration service, Sam and I both wrote her a letter, and we read them both out. They're quite incredible reading them back now. You know, they're both incredible letters that came from a place that we will never be in again, and feels like it was someone else. But that was us, that's what we've been through, and that's what we wanted to say to her, and they're powerful, and they're here. This is a brilliant record. There is the newspaper article and there's the helicopter taking us away. Someone got a picture of it, went in the local newspaper, and they printed our story, because it was such big news for you know, a town in Yorkshire. So we got all this record of it all. This book's really precious to me. A friend sewed her name, Florence Blair Hardwick, with her date of birth and her date of death on there. And in here we had it at her funeral, I guess you want to call it. I call it a celebration. And in there, everybody that was there, whether it was a child or an adult, wrote in there. This was the cross that a lovely friend of ours made, because we couldn't afford a headstone for quite a while. So we had that made where she was buried, and people wrote notes, well wishes, things from the day, from the day of her funeral all the way through. And some of these are just incredible, and they impact me every time I read them. And it goes on. This is a very special book, and again it's brilliant to share with my children as they grow older about their sister and about the experience that we've gone through as a family. Lastly, another amazing gift, that a friend filmed the burial service and the celebration that we had later on, and we had these DVDs. Now, the honest truth is, we could not watch them for a few years, and when I did watch them, Sam wasn't ready to, so I watched it on my own. I couldn't watch them all. I had to watch a bit of it, and then later maybe another bit. You know, I dipped in, went away, but it was calling me, you know. I went back and watched a bit more, and before you know it, I managed to watch the 2 films. But I've never been able to watch the films in one sitting, back to back. It's just 5 years later, still too painful. One of the messages I'm going to be really talking about is, although I'm being self-indulgent now with my story, I'm going to be questioning all of the self-indulgent side of it. I'm going to be questioning the taboo side of it. I'm going to be questioning the comparison with other cultures in the grief reaction. And one of the things that I will talk about at some point is my story about how things were after for me personally, because I went through a massive change. But we didn't understand it. We didn't understand the depths of what was happening to us. 5 years on, I can look much more maturely over that, and I can see quite clearly how it was all outplaying. And so there's a lot of sickness that can be born from grief if we don't fully embrace and understand it and release the truth about it. Equally, I'm really fascinated about our reaction to like famous people dying. We're all very happy to outwardly grieve and say our reactions. But if your mum dies, it's a whole different ball game. Now, I'm not going to go into it now because I will be talking about this later in a few blogs down the line probably. I'm sorry it's been so long. I hope that sharing my story gives you a better understanding about what went on. But I haven't told you the kind of real hardships afterwards and the joys afterwards, and that maybe I'll come on to that in a second vlog. Because people were incredible to us. And what happened for us and around us was incredible, and that needs to be spoken out. So I think what I'll do is I'll do a round 2 about how we found out why she died and what life was like afterwards in the immediate year.
His glory and grace, isn't he beautiful? King you are.
People were bringing little children to Jesus to have him touch them, but the disciples rebuked them. When Jesus saw this, he was indignant. he said to them, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of God belongs to such as these. I tell you the truth." And he took the children into his arms, put his hands on them, and blessed them.
I wrote her a letter late last night. I've actually written her about 12 this week. This is the one I wanted to share. My baby of 9 months and 7 days, you've changed me for a lifetime. Thanks to me for purpose and meaning. I want to thank you for the privilege of bringing you into the world. The night that my contractions started, I was alone in my bedroom, and together we chilled out, taking ownership of all that I was and allowing you all to be who you were. I prayed about your arrival and for my strength, and I began to find the contractions pleasurable, knowing that finally I would meet you, as I had already known you so deeply. You came quickly. I trusted you and I trusted my body completely. Our family began a new song. 4 became 5 and adjustments were willingly made. You are beautiful. Dare I say it, perfect. Perfect skin, hair, tone, temperament. As if the angels had already bathed you and graced you. To see your life slip away with so little time, to have given you the love that we have, pains me deeply as I dare to let you go. You changed me, Flory. You're a part of me. And I wanted to tear my skin off and scream in pain. But I wanted to rejoice in celebration of knowing you so well. I've seen you grow up, I've seen you run and play, I've watched you hope and I've watched you dare. I've caught you when you've fallen. I know you, I love you, and I miss you, and I want you, and I hurt. You are my baby, and you are not here. Wait for me as I will wait for you, and I will throw my arms around you, and I will hold you and smell you and drink you in. I will tell you of all the times where 4 missed 5, and I shall tell you until journey's ends the paths that we tread. My breath will dry up and my blood will stop flowing, but my core will never forget. Be happy, my child. Be a blessing to your King. He has called you home as he has a greater task for you with him than we could ever offer you here. Play with all your creativity and sing with your mighty power and dance as if for the first time. Already I have seen countless ways in which your story has brought healing, hope, challenge, insight to us here on earth, and I am so very proud of you. I'm letting you go now. I don't want to, but I am choosing to. And I love you, Florence, more than my heart will let me feel. Go well and be good. And please don't ever leave us, as we will never leave you, but know that you are now free. Fly away, my child, for Jesus awaits you. A party is ready to receive you, and a celebration is ready to release you. Love will come down and rescue me. All my love, my baby, you're mine.
Hallelujah. Like Beth, I've wrestled with a lot this weekend. I have really struggled to find the words to articulate what I'm thinking and feeling. And last night in the bath, I just felt the Lord was talking to me and giving me those words. And I sort of jumped out and in 10 minutes flat, wrote it down. To my beautiful daughter, Florence Bryant, would you say a dance for your father?
You were made with a dance. It was a night that your mum and I danced. We danced all night with many of your friends and your family. We danced with the news that you were on your way, and your gorgeous sisters danced with excitement. We all danced together at the thought of you joining our passionate dance. Your birth was perfect. We danced with joy when we brought you home. We laughed and kissed, we hugged, and we danced. I thank you, my darling Florence, for our first dance. I held you and we danced. It was a fitting welcome to the Lord-inspired rhythm of our dancing household. We started our new dance, a dance with 5 special parts, and you filled your part perfectly. You danced with such joy. Our Father danced with us all. His Son danced with you, my children, and His Spirit danced as we committed our journey to the Lord. But your dancing slowed, and your little body tired. But with hope in your heart and the love of your family, you danced on. But this world made a very painful decision that your body could not dance. All the life and rhythm in your soul could not will your little body to dance. And so it was that your body stopped. Our dancing stopped, and we wept. You were free from your failing body. You leapt into eternity into the arms of our Father. And oh, what a dance! What an energetic, passionate, and beautiful dance. And we are left to remember your dance, to complete our dance of 5 parts with just 4, to dance with a limb. But I will dance on, my precious Florence, until the day that our Father calls me home. While we wait for this day, all I ask is that we save a dance for your Father. And on that day I shall rush to the gates and cry, "Where is my daughter, the beautiful Florence Prior?" I will take you by the hand, and I will dance and dance and dance. But for now I must wait. And I will dance with all the passion that I can find, in the hope that you might save a dance for your Father. In a moment we're going to sing. We're singing of our faith as we place Florrie in her resting place with the Lord Jesus Christ. So let's sing together, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty." Again, the words are on your sheet. Holy ground, and we meet with a God who is able. So that'll be how we'll end. But before then, we just have a couple more prayers and another song which you may not know, but that's fine. You've got the words. Allow it to be sung over you and over Florrie here. Let's keep a moment's quiet.
day that all creation's waiting for. A day of freedom and liberation for the earth. And on that day, the Lord will come to meet his bride. And when we see him, in an instant we'll be changed. The trumpet sounds, and the dead will then be raised.
My tears wiped away, and you will be my peace. You will be my peace. On that day, I will be home, and I'll rest in your arms, in my Father's arms, and you will be my peace. You will be my peace. Jesus, you will be my peace. You will be my peace. I will be home. I will be home.
Hi, I'm Susie, I'm Beth's sister, and we'd really like to welcome you all here today and to thank you so much for coming. It's been an overwhelming week of love and support that we've really felt from all of you and lots of people that couldn't make it today. And we've just heard the most incredible stories of changed plans and cancelled parties and cancelled holidays and so many things that you guys have all put aside to be here with us today, and I can't express how much that means to Beth and Sam, but also to all of their families.
Yeah, my name's Joseph. I'm Sam's brother. As Susie said, we have, as a family, and I know Sam and Beth particularly, have felt so upheld and supported by people over this past week. All the Facebook messages, text messages, it's just been incredible. So we're really grateful that you guys can be here, and also there are so many people that couldn't make it, whose support we've really appreciated.
This afternoon we really want you to feel that joy again, because she was born and she lived, and that was a brilliant, amazing thing to happen, and she blessed so many people by her arrival. And so it is a celebration, and it's a time to express that joy and to laugh deeply and enjoy yourself. It's a celebration. But also we're obviously very aware of her loss as well. So do, express that emotion too.
My chains are gone, I've been set free. My God, my Savior, has ransomed me. And like a flood, His mercy reigns, unending love, and amazing grace.
The The releasing of grief is an important ceremony in itself, and to honour and to share this. It could also be a time to release grief at other times and past events that we've held on to, so that the life of Florrie has helped to heal many other wounds. And Beth's already said we've had messages of things where Florrie has affected people's lives in her 7 days that we couldn't imagine. So we have a plum tree here and a basket of luggage labels, and if you feel that something has affected you and caused change in you this week or the service, or feeling on hearing the news it's meant you've felt challenged in an area and had to let something go. I certainly have, just by watching Beth and Sam's behaviour in response to this. Then just jot it down if you feel brave enough on a luggage label and just tie it to the tree.
Dear Father, you are our Father, and I trust you. Thank you for our precious gift, baby Florrie. Although this has been, and still is, one of the most painful journeys ever, we would not have refused your beautiful gift to us, of baby Florrie. I thank you that your grace goes before us and you hold us in your love. We thank you that Sam and Beth, Martha and Darcy and all of us will continue to know and remain in you, the God of all comfort.
Stand back a little bit. That's okay. It'll be a very nice bird. Martha, would you like to open that up, sweetheart? Shall I do it with you? You help me. You help me, Martha. That's it, Martha. That's it. Okay. Yes, the bird's just going to fly out here, so give it a bit of space here. Are you ready? Okay. 1, 2, 3. And off he goes home. Wow, look how beautiful. Flying around.
You're going to see if it'll fly back in.
He's having a look, so he's wondering where he is. No, he's not. He's going home. He's lovely.
He's a lovely bird.
He's a very lovely bird, isn't he?
Wow. That's what you got to do.
That's good. That's to make him nice and comfortable.
What's he calling?
No, he wasn't poorly. He was okay. He's going home now.
Now where is he? Hello.
Can you still see him?
Yes.